It's Monday. It's June 24th. I'm Andrew Hawthorne. You are receiving the signal. Today, we are talking about summer activities, particularly those on the water, from the food fishery, which, by the way, suddenly starts this week, to sailing and kayaking. What are your summer plans for getting out there safely on the waves? We're going to be talking a bit about the food fishery today, and we'd like to hear from you as well. What are your summer activities, particularly out on the ocean or anything at all, or if you want to talk about the fishery? You can call in 709-722-7111 or 1-800-563-8255. Two people who don't have to call in are my guests today. Right here, we've got Barry Fordham. He's an outdoor safety advocate and, of course, the founding director of Sharing the Harvest NL. Hello, Barry.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. We also have Taylor Reed. She's a hunter and environmental technology student at the Marine Institute. Hello.
I'm actually not a environmental technology student at the Marine Institute anymore. I'm a natural resource student at Academy Canada.
Well, congratulations.
But thank you for having me.
Anytime. Whoever you are, you're welcome. So I'm just going to throw it out there. So the food fishery is starting this week. They only announced that on Friday. That seems a little short notice, doesn't it? Is that regular practice, or what's going on there?
Well, yes, it is regular practice, actually. And to be more specific on Friday, it was after business hours at Newfoundland and Labrador time when DFO had announced that. So there wasn't anything that you could call in about. And historically, yes, it's been last-minute, 11th-hour decision each year, and we have to practically beg DFO to let us know what the rules and regulations will be or what type of system there will be. There are a lot of people that are living away that want to book their holidays to come home. There are rotational workers. There are people of the province. Granted, you will never please everybody, but there should be a better method to this than what it is to have to wait till the 11th hour each and every year.
So what's going on? Why is it that it happens so late every year? No one knows.
It's a big question mark, basically. They're giving us information, but they're not answering our full questions. They're leaving these sentences with question marks, and no one really completely understands. And no one really understands why these dates have to come out as late as what they are when they could come out way sooner like other provinces do.
And it's more of a slap in the face, too, when our sister provinces in the Maritimes and Quebec have their dates and bag limits already announced up to 2 months beforehand.
2 months. Okay, so obviously that would be better. The tourism industry, everybody can plan ahead. We're going to hear from some tourism operators a little later about the kind of impact this has on them as well. What exactly, full disclosure out there, dear listener, I'm a massive townie. I am no use in the woods. You're not going to want me on your boat. So what does the recreational food fishery entail? How in your words, do you describe what's going on there? What are the current catch limits? Like, what does this season look like as far as your experienced eyes would suggest?
So basically, food fishery gives people the opportunity to go out on the water and catch 5 fish for themselves. However, the boat limit is kind of unclear. To my knowledge, I've always known 15 fish per boat, so 3 people, 5 fish each. However, you can't go out with 10 people in your boat and expect to come in with 50 fish because your limit is 15, 5 for 3 people. So it's kind of not clear, like, to me, and I think to a lot of other people. It raises a whole lot of question marks and confuses a lot of people. But the food fishery has been going on basically forever. Fish is a natural resource for us, especially here in Newfoundland, and a lot of people depend on it for a source of food. And I think these dates and everything coming out later than they should leaves people with a very short opportunity who come to Newfoundland for that sole purpose and are now left short-timed because of the dates.
Seems kind of strange, though. Like, the fish limits you were saying, so no matter how many people are going out in a boat, you can only catch 15.
Now, I broke this open about 2 years ago with DFO and shared to Paddy Daly on VOCM. The daily bag limit per person is based on legislation, which is law. The boat limit of 15 fish per boat per trip is based on policy, which is based on safety, which is not based on law. I have a written letter from DFO last year and year before stating that nobody will be charged if they come in with more than 15 fish per boat. If the boat can safely handle that, and that'll be on the capacity plate. If the boat can handle 5 people, then the boat limit will be 25 fish, according to what DFO is telling me. There are, on the other side of the coin, there are enforcement officers out there. God love them, they know I support them. But some of those enforcement officers are interpreting the law in their own mind, saying that the boat limit is 15. I'll charge you if you come in more than 15 fish. Where other officers are saying, well, it's 5 fish per person.
But, if they're saying, well, these are the rules and we're not going to change that, but don't worry about it, and then other people are interpreting it differently, as they would, because the rules as written, it says you can't do this anyway. Why not change the rule? Like, what is it seems amorphous and strange to say, like, well, you can sometimes ignore this rule.
Why don't they announce the food fishery date sooner than what they do? So you can lump that in.
So we just don't know what's going on here.
Nothing's really crystal clear or anything like that. Like I compared it to is like your highway speed limit signs. The highway is posted, speed limit is 100. That doesn't mean you can exceed that and not be ticketed. It's written there. It's in fine lines. There's no question marks. This should be the exact same way. People shouldn't be left questioning, wondering if I don't abide by this, will I be fined or will I not be fined? Is this just a hoax that people are telling me? Everything should be written out, easy to read, and then everybody understands it, and there's no confusion.
How does this experience compare to other places? Quebec has their food fishery set, the Maritimes, you were saying. Like, what is the experience if I was in the Maritimes versus here?
How so?
So I want to go out fishing. Like you said, it was announced like 2 months ago.
Okay, yeah. So the dates are more clearer. I have better timing that I can plan my holidays, plan my time around it too. And when I'm there, I can plan what day or days I want to participate in it. And they have it open all week long, from the end of June, I believe, to the last of Labor Day weekend.
Just open the entire time.
Every day.
Whereas ours is just weekends.
Right.
Yeah.
So it gives people more of an opportunity, right? Like it's open for the 7 days a week. You take people who work, like Barry said, rotation, or people who work Monday to Friday. They're given the opportunity that they can go out any time between those 2 dates versus us here. If someone strictly works just weekends, where is their opportunity to go out and get food for their family? When are they given a time?
We don't have DFO here to talk about it, but like, what are the reasons given for this stuff? Is it sustainability? We're just trying to protect the stock, or why can't I go out on a Wednesday?
I don't think I've ever really heard a practical reason for it. I mean, I've been dealing with food fishery now for quite a number of years.
And been advocating to change these things.
And yes, absolutely. I think the best season that we've ever had was the year that we had 3 weeks in the summer with the week in the fall, and then every weekend in July and August.
Yeah,
that was the best season. But then the year after, the commercial fishermen took a hit in the quota, so we lost the 3 weeks in the summer. Now, this past year, the codfish has been deemed to be on the comeback. Commercial fishers have received an increase in their quota. I think it's about time that the recreational food fishers should receive some kind of benefit from it as well. And we're not looking for more fish. We are conservationists. But if it clearly says that we can come in with 25 fish aboard the boat, if that boat can safely take 5 people, then why shouldn't we be allowed to? In other words, so if as it stands now, and some people are abiding by the 15 fish boat limit, 5 of us are on the wharf. That boat can legally take 5 people, it says so on the capacity plate. But 3 of us go out, catch 15 fish, come in, process them, and then I take the other 2 people out for a total of 10 fish this time, because I already have my 5. But what happens if I have to go to work? What happens if the weather changes? Those 2 people have lost their opportunity to get that bit of fish instead of going out the 5 of them in the boat in the first place. It's ridiculous and doesn't make any sense.
How often are the pair of you running up against these things when you go out? Like, do you hit these rules frequently? And like, how often do you encounter these limits on the boat when you go out, generally speaking?
Well, the limits are in place every day of the food fishery. The more direct question, I guess, the better question would be, how often do you see an enforcement officer?
Okay.
Not very often.
Yeah.
And
not really there to enforce the rules, so to speak, like unless they're called upon to come to this certain location because so-and-so is seems to be breaking the rules or whatever. But I think the whole point in just having weekends for us is to keep the stock up. You take now, if it's open 7 days a week, you'll definitely have a couple people who will be going out every single day to catch their 5, or if they have passengers in, whatever that number would be. So I think our way of keeping the codfish plentiful would be just the weekends. But if other places can do it, why can't we do it?
It seems to be working there.
Yeah, if it's working there, then how come it won't work for us? At least try it for, say, a season, then do some more studies on it. Okay, our numbers dropped by this many or went up by this many. Keep it whatever works best. Like, do a study on it. If it doesn't work, then everybody will understand the reason behind it not happening.
If you want to get in on this conversation, you can. You can call us here at the Signal, 709-722-7111 or 1-800-563-8255. With the kind of questions on some of these rules and people saying like, oh, don't worry about this, we're not going to enforce it, or maybe somebody is. Like, do you see a lot of people just kind of checking the rules and going out? Have you encountered other people who are like catching too many fish or doing this stuff? You said like enforcement officers get called when you see this stuff happening. Does that happen frequently?
It's hard to say. I'm not an enforcement officer and I don't know that, but there are people.
I don't want you to narc on anybody or anything.
No, of course not.
There are people saying that there's people making multiple trips, and that's illegal. However, multiple trips are legal if I'm the owner operator of the watercraft, and I go out and I take out 3 people, get 15 fish, come back in. Take out another 3 people, get 15 fish, come back in. As long as I'm not overseeing my own limit. So what's going on sometimes is people are taking people out in the boat, getting their limit coming in, processing, and taking another bunch of people out. What the person who owns the boat is getting their limit once again.
Each time they go out, they're still getting their 5 fish. So that's when it becomes a problem. Say someone has stood up watching this. Well, we just watched this guy do 4 trips. And he came in with 5 fish for himself each time. That's when it raises a question as to, well, now you're breaking the law, because in the fine lines of the rules, 5 fish per person per day, not 5 fish each time you go out. And that's very clear in the rules. Everybody understands that. However, some people seem to be blind to the rules or just don't want to participate in the rules or something along the lines of that. And that's what drops our cod numbers so significantly, is because people don't play by the rules.
Do you expect any changes to these regulations? You've been advocating for this for 2 years now, Barry.
Actually, since 2012.
Okay, you've been advocating it since I was 5 years old.
My head is just about flattened from banging against the wall.
Wow.
I don't know what's going to happen, what's going to have to happen, or whatever. I do know though that more and more people these days are talking about the tag system.
Yeah, tell me about that. What's the tag system? Why do people want that?
So, the majority of people, I think, in the province now don't own a boat, and I don't either, and maybe you don't. I don't know if Taylor does. So, people who own boats have the perfect opportunity to go whenever they want, when it's legal. But people who don't have boats have only maybe 1 or 2 opportunities to get 5 fish or 10 fish, and that's not enough to see them through the winter. So, with the tag system, you have the suggestion I put in DFO is that the tag system will be number of tags will be incremental. Taylor might only want 10 fish. I want 20 fish. You might want 30 fish. But it's not getting out of hand. 50 tags, 40, 50 tags should be enough per person. You then have the choice of going out and filling all your tags all at one day if the fishing's hot. Or you can spread them out over the season. There's a better way to secure your fish supply for the winter. Some people say, okay, well, you use tags, then there's going to be all that plastic piling up on the beach again. Well, that's not true, because that's fixed with an easy amendment that states that the tag must follow the fish home to the freezer, same as moose and salmon.
Yeah. We've got Jen Shears on the line. Jen is a lifelong sustainable hunter as well as an avid outdoor enthusiast. Hello, Jen.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing swell. How you doing, Jen?
Great, thanks.
What do you think about the recreational food fishery coming up this week?
Well, I wish the limit was a problem I had to worry about, but I'm not that good at it. So
Yeah, this is all relative, I guess.
I'm a better hunter than I am a fisher, I think. But yeah, I know. I mean, the whole limit thing about 5 fish, when I look at the number of seals out there now and the amount of fish that they're taking, and nothing seems to be taken seriously at the government level with that, the thought of 5 fish being the limit for Newfoundlanders trying to feed themselves and their families seems kind of laughable to me, but that's a whole other topic, I guess.
What are your plans for the fishery this year?
Well, we're commercial fishermen as well, so we're finishing up our lobster season and crab as well. Going to get into the halibut, and hopefully be able to get a few weekends out at it when the food fishery is open. We're based out of Rocky Harbor, and there's typically good fishing out there when someone knows what they're at more than I do, apparently. But yeah, we're looking forward to getting out there on the recreational side after a long season of the commercial stuff.
Do you have any good tips for folks who might want to go out fishing near Rocky Harbor? Gorgeous spot.
Well, yeah, apart from the fishing, you can enjoy everything that comes with Rocky Harbor, all the scenery and the activities that happen out there in the summer. But no, I mean, nothing in particular. Just be safe when you're out there. Have your personal protective gear, your life vests. And it's great that the Professional Fish Harvesters Board now has really put a promotion on for personal locator beacons, and they're making them pretty accessible for the commercial fishers anyway. So anything that you can take with you to help in the event of emergency is a great thing. Safety first.
Let's talk a bit about hunting as well. Like you said, you're also a hunter. What's hunting like around these parts?
Good. There's a whole lot of bears around the past few years, so that's something that I've been targeting in the spring and in the fall hunts. And moose, of course. Gross Morin has quite an abundance of moose, although less so in recent years with the hunt being there to reduce the population. But yeah, moose and black bear hunting is great on the west coast around our area. And it looks like the caribou seem to be improving in numbers. And the caribou hunt has been closed on the Northern Peninsula for the past, I don't know, five years or so, maybe a bit longer, 8 years. But the numbers seem to be rebounding. I don't know if it's that the coyote numbers have leveled off out there, or if the caribou are learning how to deal with them more adequately. But it's good to see their numbers up there. It's always nice to see a caribou.
You really pride yourself on being a sustainable hunter and passionate about sustainability in the province. And this seems like a lot of good news. Like, are you seeing a lot of bounce back from those depleted populations recently, or is there more we could be doing to kind of preserve these resources?
Yeah, I mean, listening to people on the ground is always important. Science and all that official data is all well and good, but I'm a firm believer in traditional knowledge and listening to people on the ground, because hunters and fishers are the ones who are often the first to sound the alarm bells. As Barry knows, with the moose populations on the island, hunters have been the ones saying, we really need to look at our numbers for our license allocations and what are we doing to adequately manage them. So I'm a firm believer that hunters and fishers are the ultimate conservationists and should be at all the tables as major players when decisions are being made. It's important environmentally, it's important economically, and it's important culturally for us too.
People on the ground always know what's going on first. Let's talk about bears for a second. We talk a lot about moose hunting in the province, I feel. I don't know that I've ever talked to anybody about bear hunting. What is the bear hunting scene in Newfoundland and Labrador like?
Well, there's a couple ways to approach bear hunting. You can spot and stalk, kind of like how you would with moose. Sometimes you can call them in with predator and prey calls, but baiting is a very common method of bear hunting. And the thing about baiting is it lets you be really selective. You get to know the bears that are coming into your bait, and it eliminates really any possibility of taking a mother and a cub, because they're coming in repeatedly. And when one shows up on your camera, you almost have names for them. You know which one is which, and you'll know which one's coming in after, because they're on the schedule usually if you are pretty consistent with your baiting. And yeah, it's pretty cool. And even if you don't end up taking one just to be there, watching them, being so close to nature when they don't even know you're there. I mean, these animals are smart. They have incredible senses of smell and hearing. So just the ability to be up close and personal with them, to have no idea that you're 10, 15, 20 yards away is pretty special. And not too many people get to experience that. So I do enjoy going after bears and just observing them, if nothing else.
What is the bear population like here? You know, we talked about like the moose population. It was large, and we've culled that down. We've talked about the caribou rebounding. How are the bears doing out there?
I'm sure that the bear population is pretty robust. You're allowed to take 2 bears on a license now. Maybe less and less people are bear hunting, but the meat is incredible. Oh my goodness. Bear Burgers is a restaurant around town now that just opened up last year. Bowie and Arrow. I call it Boy and Arrow, but they have bear burgers on the menu, and it's incredible. I do think the numbers are high. Sometimes I have 5 bears coming into my stand at a time. So, and like a couple years ago, I had a picture with 3, and then there were 2 back in the area. So yeah, I think the population's doing quite well. I haven't heard anyone on the ground or within the conservation department sound any alarms whatsoever.
More bears than we can bear.
Indeed.
What kind of safety tips do you have for people who might want to go out in the woods and look for a bear or a less mauling kind of animal if they were interested?
Well, I mean, bears are often more afraid of you than you are of them. Knock on wood, but I've never had an up close bear encounter. They, like I said, their sense of hearing and smell is far better than ours, so they know you're there when you don't even know they're there. They'll keep their distance. If ever you're in between like a mother and a cub, it's just advisable to back away slowly, take whatever path increases your distance between both of them. That's usually the most dangerous scenario. And making noise when you're in the woods is helpful, because if you're creeping around, sometimes you may startle one. So bear bells just lets them. Some people say they're dinner bells, but that's not really the case for black bears. But if you make noise, sing a song, or clap your hands as you're walking, then they will 99 chances out of 100 keep their distance from you, and you won't even know they're handy.
What songs do they prefer? Are we talking about Linkin Park here, or can we do some Great Big Sea? Is that okay?
Any of it. They'll like it all.
All right, great. Jen, thanks so much for calling in today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks. Have a good day, you guys. Hi, Taylor, and hi, Barry.
Hi, Jen.
Thanks, Jen.
Thanks, Andrew.
Thank you, Jen. Something Jen said there I want to throw out to the room. Bowie or boy?
Boy.
Boy.
It's boy, right?
It's boy.
Yeah.
Depends on where you're to.
It's the Yanks, man. Everybody watched Crimson Tide. Now it's all Bowie all over the place. Andrew knows what I'm talking about. Andrew Wiseman there in the booth. I agree. It's a boy. Let's talk about safety. We were talking a bit about safety in the woods now. All of these things we're talking about outdoor activities, sometimes dangerous animals, but certainly dangerous environments when we're talking about being out on the water. How do you think safety pickup is for people doing these things? Are we seeing more people in lifeboats? We talked about those emergency beacons. Like, how common are those nowadays, Barry?
Well, that's for the commercial fishers that are using the emergency beacons only.
Nobody else is? Just a random person can't get that?
Maybe random people.
Yeah.
Maybe random people.
I'd be clinging on to that with all my life.
For safety, then, you want to make sure that, first of all, your boat and all its equipment and yourself are ready. By yourself, then you should have your boat operator's cards, kind of like your boat license, driver's license. Make sure that you have all the safety equipment on board that you need for the boat, and of course have a life jacket for each person on board that is of appropriate fit and size, and insist that they wear that life jacket too.
Taylor, what do you think? Are you seeing a lot of life jackets out there? What is safety like here in the province for the recreational food fishery, do you think?
I think we're doing pretty good. I know 9 times out of 10 when I'm out on the water, every person that I see will have a life jacket on. You will have a few now who believe that it's not going to save them. But again, that is safety, and it is a rule that you need to have a personal flotation device on when you're out in a watercraft. And then also another huge safety thing when you're cod fishing is when you're reaching down into the water to grab your codfish, most people will do that with their hand. So the issue that becomes when you do that with your hand is that if there happens to be a shark coming up to grab that codfish as
Holy
you're
crap.
reaching it out of the water, your hand is in the way. And, you know, a shark's teeth in your hand isn't a good combination. People should be using a gaff or they should be using a net. It's a much safer method. And then you're guaranteeing that you're safe and nothing's going to happen to your precious limbs. But people are still very blinded by this and believe that it doesn't happen and it won't happen to me. This is just a random thing that happens every now and then. But
Wait, how often are you seeing sharks out there? That's terrifying.
More and more sharks each year, actually.
Why are we seeing more and more sharks each year?
Well, I think Taylor said it was global warming, which I agree with as well.
The
But
water's nicer for sharks?
water's heating up, right? It's all about climate change and everything. So the warm water brings in the sharks. It brings in different species of fish. It brings in
The
different
southern biosphere is moving north, I guess?
Yeah, it brings in so many things that we never had here before when the water temperature was much cooler. But now that it's heating up, it's welcoming new species into our waters.
I think the sharks have been here all along, all down through the years. But now, because of the food fishery, all the boats are clumped together in one area,
Okay.
hauling fish up that are giving off the injured or dying signal, as well as when they come up, then they may be bled over the side, and that's chumming the water for the sharks.
Do people think about that when they're bleeding a fish over the side, that they're literally doing the same thing that somebody would do to...
Maybe not.
Wow.
I really don't think anybody really thinks of that because, like I said, people just think, oh, that wouldn't happen to me. That won't happen to me. That's just...
What kind of sharks are we talking about? Like on a scale of 1 to Jaws, how Jaws enormous is this shark we're talking about?
So the sharks we're talking about are blue sharks and poor beagles, which are approximately anywhere from, I believe, 6 to 8 to 10 feet long.
Sure.
There are other sharks as well, but these two are
Seem to be the
two
most common.
Yeah.
They're fully hand bitey size, so
Yes,
that's
indeed.
not good.
And we have the odd mako around as well.
Yeah.
Really? Wow. Another aspect of safety I know we've talked about in previous years, the fact that the limitations on the time, particularly that it's only on the weekend for the recreational fishery, forces people sometimes to go out in conditions that otherwise they wouldn't. If this is the only weekend they can go out, if this is the only time, even if the waters are choppy and you might not think that maybe I won't go out today, it's the only time somebody can go out to get a fish. Is that still a problem? Do we have enough time to get out there, or are people risking weather they shouldn't be?
I think you're absolutely making a risk. You're opening it for just the weekend. And with the wind and the fog and all the wonderful weather we get here in Newfoundland, you're limiting people to those very short few days. And some people will go out regardless of if it's wavy and sloppy or foggy or not. And then you have these folks who are putting themselves at risk in this weather just to go out and get their codfish because they have no other choice.
We just got an email in. Jim says, the rule on numbers that I read in the news release is quite clear to me. Boat trip limit of 15 fish when 3 or more people are on board. I disagree with the stupidity of it, Jim's words, but in NL, this is the law. But you're saying in some cases, maybe not.
It is not the boat limit is not law. It is based on policy, and policy is based on safety. Legislation is law. Policy is not law. I have it in writing here. I'll send it to you if you like, from both years, last year and the year before, where they clearly say that nobody will be charged if there's more than 15 fish brought in when there are more than 3 people aboard the boat.
So it's just so amorphous, though. How does somebody know what they're supposed to do out there?
It's a big snarl, and it can be easily fixed by just printing one sentence in the Angler's Guide or in DFO rules regulations that says there is no boat limit. It's 5 fish per person, as long as it's safe enough for that number of people to be allowed out in the boat.
Let's talk about cleaning your catch, because you were saying some people are doing it on the boats, and that's attracting sharks. How common is that? Are we throwing fish guts out? And
Well, first of all, it's legal to gut. It's legal to bleed your fish at sea. It's illegal to fillet the fish at sea. So the fish had to be brought in whole to the wharf, or to the little, if you don't have wharf, you're in the harbour or whatever, you fill your fish or whatever.
that's on shore.
Right.
Okay. But so people aren't doing that at all right now. They're just bleeding the fish at sea, giving the sharks.
I'm sure there are
cocktail.
people that are filleting some fish at sea and stuffing them somewhere to try to get them in undetected. But for the most part, I think most people are following the law. And, just the more things that go wrong are more things then that will go wrong for us. But it's like we're being treated as second-class citizens, both with the boat limit and also the way DFO are saying that if there's abuse to it, we'll shut it down on you. My God, we're not kids, and you're not going to shut it down on us.
What do you mean? What do you mean they're going to shut it down on you?
In the letter I have
from
DFO, it states that about the boat limit. Says that if they find that there's abuse of the system, people coming in more than 15 fish, when there's more than 3 people in the boat, they will stop the food fishery.
They'll stop it, even though they told you can ignore that rule.
But they're telling us that there is no boat limit.
Yeah.
So which is it? Is there a boat limit? And they're saying it's not, so it's too late for them to go back on saying that there is a boat limit now when they said for a couple of years there is no boat limit.
So you would prefer a more hard and fast rule. This is the way it is.
Put it in black and white so everybody can see it. That gentleman just then said he's abiding by the 15 fish rule.
Yeah.
But it's not law, and that's what I have from DFO, and that's the same thing as Paddy Daly is saying on Open Line. Mm-hmm. He has the same letter that I got. I forwarded it to him, and he got his own letter from DFO.
Going back to fish cleaning, Taylor, how do you clean your catch when you come in with some fish?
Oh, definitely bring it into the wharf. I mean, that's what you have to do. I'd catch it and slit its throat and throw it in a fish pan and bring it back into the wharf and clean it there. And then you can throw your guts out in the water so seagulls or other fish or whatever can eat it instead of throwing it out on your boat. And then, like I said, you're attracting sharks and everything to come up. And then you also have a huge swarm of seagulls shitting over your head. So,
do you have a problem with seagulls? Now keep it a PG.
No issue with them. I mean, they're a species that's been around always, but the whole poop thing on my head, I'd rather keep a dry head while I'm out cod fishing.
I guess this is kind of like, again, ringing the dinner bell for the seagulls, though. Hey?
Yeah, basically, and the sharks too.
And the sharks,
but people don't really think about the sharks. It's just the overhead, I guess, that they think about, not what's down below.
I mean, we've all experienced that more than the sharks, I guess. How likely is a seagull to take off your hand? I've seen some really big ones out there, so.
Yeah, I don't think it's very likely.
No. All right. We've got Graham Wood on the phone. Graham is a tourism operator. Hello, Graham.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing today? How's the season so far?
Well, the season for tourism is for my business is slow, and
whereabouts are you?
My book. I'm in Lewisport, Little Burnt Bay, Bay of Exploits.
Yeah, and it's been slow there. Hey?
No, it's been slow bookings this year. Yeah, normally I'd have a lot more bookings already made. With credit card bookings and stuff. But this year is down.
What do you think's driving that?
I don't know what's doing it. I mean, Twillingate seems to be busy, but they don't have any icebergs this year. We don't have any icebergs. There's no whales yet. If the capemen make it around Cape Friels without being scooped up, we don't know what the fishery is going to be like. We don't usually our fishery doesn't really pick up here until usually late July if the capemen make it. Normally middle of July is when we'd get capemen in. But, we don't know. I think not sure the capemen fishery is going ahead yet. So,
what's a regular year for you like? How busy are you, do you think?
July and August are usually my busiest times, pretty well every weekend, stuff like that. And during the week, well, we can't fish during the week. So I have to turn down a lot of tourism potential, tourism bookings, because they want to go out and catch a fish on Monday or Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, because they're off, and that's the only time they got. But again, our lovely Department of Fisheries and Oceans waited to the very last minute. I mean, we had 4,000 people on the petition and trying to get changes to try to hear about it in May. And I get calls from people from Alberta saying, when is the fishery going ahead? And I said, I don't even know if it's going ahead. So they leave it to the last minute, as they did this year again. And give us the same rules 3 days a week. I don't know how many tourism operators can operate 3 days a week. I know that I can't, and it's just strangling our recreational fishery for tourists. So I don't know what's going on, but
So this is
it's
having
very
a major
disappointing.
impact on your business.
Definitely, yeah. Oh yes, I mean it's been doing it for years. Barry and I have been fighting this for years, really, and trying to get the recreational food fishery, opened up more. And in the Atlantic provinces and the Maritime provinces, they can fish every day of the week and take tourists out and catch their 2 fish per tourist. And here we're limited. Now I can get an experimental license, but the experimental license only allows me to retain the fish, measure the fish for a few minutes before and then I have to weigh it. I have to measure it. I have to give GPS location, and I have to submit that report in the fall. And sometimes those fish don't survive. They come up. We got to measure them. We got to do all the things with them on the boat, and then put them back overboard. And lots of times their bladders are filled up with air, and they just don't go down. And then along come the birds, and they take them. So, it's very disappointing. I'm extremely disappointed with the response from DFO, and I just hope people remember in the next election. That's all I can say, because the 4,000 people that actually signed the petition electronically. I mean, I had people calling me from all over the province wanting to do paper petitions and stuff, and getting them signed up in malls. But I mean, I can't handle that.
Let's talk about that petition. What was that? What did that specifically say?
Well, basically, it said first thing was we wanted to know by May 1st exactly what the food was. Same things they let the other Atlantic provinces know early. And we also wanted to be able to fish basically from July 1st to the end of September. But I mean, we will live to the end of Labor Day. I mean, everything slows down anyway at Labor Day. After Labor Day, there's the weather gets worse. We get more storms. We get the hurricane season. So the water gets a lot more dangerous in terms of being able to go out and fish for that last week in late September.
So you haven't had a lot of satisfaction talking to DFO. Have you talked to tourism at all? Have you talked to the department? What are people saying? Because this is affecting the whole industry, I guess.
We've talked to everybody. I've not gotten a call back from the Minister of Tourism or the Minister of Fisheries provincially, or any MP. I've talked to Goody Hutchings a number of years, probably 2 years ago, when we started this again to try to get this changed, but nobody seems to respond to anything. And obviously, we got the response on Friday. The response is basically no response, same old, same old.
But Graham, they all know we're looking for a response, though. Hey.
They all know we're looking for a response, Barry. I mean, it's just very disappointing, and it's almost infuriating to me. So you know how much time I put into this in terms of trying to get this petition going, and then, getting in Ottawa, getting presented in House of Commons, and even questions. Elizabeth Marshall asked a question at the fisheries meeting, and then Laboutier basically didn't respond at all. So, this is the type of thing that we seem to get. We get, obviously, it's discriminatory in terms of what tourism operators can do in the Atlantic provinces compared to what we can do here in Newfoundland. And they just basically ignore us and go on and give us our little bit of time on the water. And it just causes a lot of people, on my Take Back the Food Fishery Facebook page, responses of people saying, like, how can we plan? We want to fly home from Alberta. We want to do this and want to arrange family times. And anyway, it's a total disregard for the public in the province and for people to be able to access food.
As it is right now, what does your food fishery look like this year in terms of tourism, in terms of yourself?
To tell you the truth, it doesn't look very good at all. And like I said, my bookings are down by 50%, and I don't even know if I'm going to operate. I got to make a decision this week because insurance rates have gone up, gas is way up, labor is way up in terms of crew, and it's just everything has gone up. I'll give you one example. My berthage in Little Burnt Bay would normally be for me to park my boat there would be $171 a year for a 25-foot boat, and this year it went to $500.
That's a heck of an increase.
Yeah, and that was basically what I was told, was that it was that Small Crafts Harbors told them to up it to $500. So that's another federal regulation, federal agency. So it was very disappointing, and I don't know what I'm going to do. I suppose I'll make up my mind this week whether to even operate it out this year. So.
Well, look, a lot of people out there are listening in the same boat or just hearing about these issues for the first time and might want to get more involved. How can people contact you? You mentioned the Facebook group. How can people get involved in this issue and try to advocate for these things?
Well, I suppose we can continue to try. Barry and I have been at this for a long time, and it just seems like it falls on deaf ears, and our federal members don't seem to do anything at all for us, and the provincial, the same thing. Everybody's quiet. Nobody says anything. The only one, the FFAW, are up against it. They don't want us to get fish. They don't want people to be able to get fish, because I heard yesterday on the fisheries forum that apparently the fisheries, the cod fisheries in Russia and Norway have been cut by 35%. And that the price of cod could go up to $6 a pound this year.
Indeed.
So, I mean, normally cod is what, 85 grade A, right? 85 cents. So if the cod prices go up, I mean, what do we got to pay in the supermarket now is $8, $9, $10 a pound. So, I don't know. I don't know where it's going to go, but it certainly doesn't seem very positive at all.
Graham, thanks for calling in today. Appreciate this.
Thank you very much.
Graham.
All the best. Same to you, Barry, and everybody.
Thanks, Graham.
Best of luck with it, Graham.
Graham Wood,
Right on, bye.
tourism operator, advocate. You can find more. Of course, you mentioned the Facebook group there. This advocacy has been going on for ages. Barry, where do we go from here in terms of doing anything about any of this stuff? We're trying to get answers.
That's a good question, $1 million question. In my mind, I think that the best time to start up a lobby effort for the food fishery to improve is now, not wait until May, because it's too late. And there's nothing going to happen in May month on forward to convince DFO to put together some kind of committee to look at it. We need to set up a focus group now to make demands on DFO early enough so that it will force them to have a look at it to hopefully positively devise a better system for the food fishery.
Taylor, your experience hunting and fishing, but also young, you're just coming up, inheriting all of this. What do you think of all of this? Where we are, where can we go? How is that change possible from your point of view?
From a younger person's point of view, I definitely think it's discouraging, especially because this has been a part of our culture for forever. I know at least since I was born, and I've never known anything different than summertime comes and we're going out in the boat and we're going cod fishing. And it's just disappointing, especially for people like Graham who depend on this for tourism, and he's left up in the air with so many questions as well as us, and we're not getting them answered. But the only way to enforce this change and make our voices be heard is to all rally together. So many voices are more powerful than just one voice trying to advocate for something. It's something that we all want, so why should one person just have to advocate for it? You have a voice, use your voice, and if everybody comes together, change will be made.
If everybody's coming together, how are they doing that? Where is that rally happening? Is that Facebook group Graham mentioned of use, or is there, how are we getting together?
Facebook is a good place to organize things, to get things started, but Facebook is not the place to organize a meeting or anything like that. There's too many Facebook warriors on the go. Next thing, the worst thing we have against it is that fishers and hunters argue with each other, fight and argue with each other, and we can never seem to get anywhere with it, and that's our biggest problem. I asked that question to Jim Shockey, who's a famous world hunter. He's a Canadian hunter, and that was his answer to me. The question was, how do we get a conservation group going? What's the hurdle? And the hurdle is hunters and fishers, anglers themselves.
Why? What's wrong between the hunters and fishers? You're a hunter and a fisher.
everybody
Are you
butts.
filled with self-loathing, or
Like, everybody just butts heads. Like, everybody views things differently. Everyone believes things should be differently done from one to another. And it just causes people to have, like, a conflict with one another when, if everybody put this conflict aside and came together and got this point across to who it needs to be made across to, I'm sure there's things me and Barry do that we don't do the same, whether that's hunting or fishing. But if we both want to meet a common goal, why should we butt heads over a small instance when we could just focus on what we both want instead of this little, like, bickering like what happens on Facebook? You have these keyboard warriors who are so willing to type 5 paragraphs into Facebook to say to somebody, but put them face to face and they'd never say it to them.
Oh, absolutely.
So I think a meeting of some sort, even like a Zoom meeting, because that gives people the opportunity from all over to join into this. Facebook isn't the answer.
What kind of efforts are being made right now? We just heard about a petition that was done. Barry, what's the latest rally of this?
There's been, I guess, the latest rally was a petition,
Yeah.
and God love Graham, but I'm sure that he'll agree too that the petition was organised too late. And like I said, and that's not a reflection on Graham. Like I said, it needs to be started now so we can put together a formulated plan in advance, so when we go, we know we have all the answers for their questions. And we're not looking for more fish. We're looking for equality. We're looking for fairness.
Yeah, let's talk about what we're looking for. What are the changes you want to see?
Well, I'd like to see us treat Newfoundland and Labrador, province of Newfoundland and Labrador, treated the same as the Maritimes, where they have a clear meaning and definition of what their recreational fishery is. We call it food fishery here. They call it recreational. That's okay. Of what it is, and they know what to expect each year, well in advance. We don't. And why is that? I don't know. It's the same thing with almost everything that we do with DFO here. When I said about hunters and anglers, I don't mean hunters and anglers are butting heads against each other. All of us are butting heads against each other. And a lot of times it has to come down and due to eagles.
Sure. Makes sense. Taylor, how about you? What kind of change would you like to see?
I'd just like to see people's questions be answered. No one should be going out on the water wondering what they're allowed or what they're not allowed to do. You're causing people to go out there and at risk of getting in trouble and getting fined or whatnot. Every question should be answered. It should be written down in black and white, easy to read, and then everybody understands.
If we didn't have legitimate concerns, if our concerns were not legitimate, if our concerns were out in left field, neither Taylor nor I would be sitting here being interviewed by you today. And the majority of the things that we're talking about in our outdoor world, both provincially and federally, are common sense. It should not have taken me 12 years to get shearing the harvest off the ground. It should not have taken us 25 years to get the hunting age reduced. It should not have taken us 12 years to get here to this point with food fishery. It should not have. The list goes on and on and on. It should not be so difficult to get a meeting with a politician or a minister to say, here's the problem, what can we do to fix it? And not be put off and say, okay, thank you very much, and never be heard of again. And I guess that's one thing I have going for me is my persistence, is that I don't give up.
I hope you continue not giving up. With, that's the future. Hopefully we can fine-tune some of these things. With this year's food fishery, what are we to expect? Is this going to be enough now for people to go out? Are people saying they're not going to go out because it's, we just heard Graham saying he doesn't even know if he's going to be able to do it.
Well, what choice do we have? It's either you're going to go or you're not. The DFO has set the limits down and everything else, the season limits. They're not going to make any kind of change, I can guarantee you. If they do, well, this might be my last show.
We'll just all have a celebration and have a big feed.
Yeah.
Yep.
What for people who are going out? What tips do you have? What are your top tips for enjoying safely the food fishery this year?
Being Vice President of Public Education with the Life Saving Society, wear your life jacket, please. Always wear your life jacket. And a big rule for breakdowns in the ocean is run out of gas. So we like to use a 3/3 rule: 1/3 on the way out, 1/3 on the way back, and 1/3 in reserve for out doing whatever you want to do. And monitor the weather. Check the weather before you go. Monitor it while you're out there. And if you see any kind of change, then come in out of it. And one other thing I'd like to say is that down here in St. John's on Kitty Vitty Village, you have that channel or the gut goes out through.
Sure.
That's a very dangerous place when in different types of weather. However, it's also still dangerous because people don't know the rules of the road. The person who is outside on the ocean side, coming into port, coming in through the channel, has the right of way. The person who is waiting to go outside has to give way. They have to wait till the person comes in from outside and safely in before they can go out. And while you're traveling, please have all your passengers sitting down on the seats.
Taylor, final thoughts.
Definitely be prepared. Don't go out in a rush, spur of the moment kind of thing. That's when accidents happen. You tend to forget things that are really important. You tend to not tell people where you're going, like the whole gas thing. Maybe your cell phone isn't charged. Like, there's so many different factors that come into it. And then there's also the drinking. People enjoy drinking while they're out on the water, which is illegal. You're drinking and driving, no different than in a motor vehicle. And people tend to not listen to this, but freak accidents happen when you are impaired. Whether it's drinking alcohol or if you're smoking cannabis, freak accidents happen. People get hurt. You can injure yourself or other people. You need to go out on the water prepared. Make a list. Take everything you need. Make sure your passengers are sitting. They have all their proper flotation devices on. You know what you're doing. You're familiar with where you're going. You have enough fuel. There's so many different things that can go wrong. And if you're prepared, you can save your own life or someone else's.
Amazing. Barry, Taylor, thank you so much for being with me in the studio today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much for having us.
And I hope you have a very nice fishery out there, out on the water. If any of you folks out there are going out on the water, you could send in some photos too. I think it's nlphotos@cbc.ca. Send in some photos of what's going on. Do you have a thought, Barry?
Yes, one last word, and that is to everybody who participates in the food, fishery, or any type of boat and water activity, make every trip a safe return trip.
Yes, please. And maybe bring me some cod. That'd be nice. That is your signal for Monday. Adam's going to be back tomorrow. But in the meantime, the food fishery opens this weekend. I hope you go out there and have a nice, safe time. And I really hope you avoid sharks. I didn't know that was an issue, but here we go. You might need a bigger boat. We're heading out. We've got a song called Music for No One. This is by a local singer and songwriter, Jake Nickel. Thanks very much for listening.